How does age contribute to egg productivity? Laying hens will begin to lay most likely between 16 to 18 weeks of age. And probably you should not expect them to lay any earlier than that. They will then lay up to 50 to 60 weeks and break during a natural process called molting. And during this time, most likely you will not collect eggs, or you will notice an egg drop in your flock. Hens will resume laying after the first molt, but keep going into the molt every other year. Poorer layers will molt more often, affecting the number of eggs laid. So could this be the reason why you're not collecting eggs? Could this be the reason why your egg production has gone down, the age of your birds? You find that most farmers will plan to have different flocks of laying birds so that when a particular flock, for example, if flock A goes into molt, then flock B is able to continue with production and cater for the market, probably that they're selling their eggs to. So being able to manage your flocks wisely is very important so that you keep your production going, and especially if you're supplying your eggs to a good market and you're making good money out of it, then don't just wait for your birds to go into molt. Have different flocks that will continue laying even when one particular flock is at molting stage. And you'll find that most farmers will, when their flock goes into molting, they'll prefer to cull it, because sometimes it becomes an expense keeping molting birds, because you'll have to feed them on high protein balanced diet so that they're able to come back and be able to start laying again. So instead, sometimes of incurring all that costs, sometimes you cull off and continue with the flock that is laying. And yes, have different flocks in your farm. What is molting and how does it affect our laying hens not to lay? Molting is a natural process in laying hens where they shed off their feathers and renew them. As you can see in the diagram shared, you can see the hen has lost some of its feathers. During this time, birds will stop laying and refocus their energy towards the growth of new feathers. Therefore, it is important for you as a farmer to continue feeding a good quality balanced diet at this stage, and especially one that has high protein, so the birds are able to recover and come back to laying. Also important to note that birds have different individual personalities, and they will go through this process differently. Others will lose their feathers and come back quickly in a few weeks, and others will lose so many feathers and take time to grow them back, up to even 12 to 16 weeks. The individual personalities will matter. So depending on the flock that you have and what you observe, important to continue feeding a protein balanced diet. You'll find that most farmers during molting, those who understand molting, you'll find that when they know their birds are about to go into molting, they will cull off the birds. Why? Because sometimes it can be an expense to keep the birds in your farm. If you're doing this for commercial purpose, it is important to have different flocks so that if one flock has gone into molting, then you have another one that is continuing to supply to your market. That way, you're consistent in supplying to the market that you have been giving your eggs to. A few tips on how to handle your birds during this molting process. One is to reduce as much stress as possible around your poultry. Any stress you cause will only aggravate them further. Avoid handling the birds at this time, like debeaking, vaccinations. You should avoid having any management routine programs at this time. Probably just maintain the normal feeding, watering, but any other management practices should be put on hold to avoid any much stress. Provide a high protein layer feed as well so that they're able to recover from this process and go back to laying. Important to know that they will lose their feathers in a sequence kind of way. Probably begin with the head, neck, and down to the back, then across the breast area, and eventually their tail feathers. And they will also regrow them in the same sequence. The chicken should be in their everyday behavior. If not, if they look sickly, then something is wrong, and that probably requires your attention or the vet, for you to call a vet so that they can be able to assist with their expertise on that. Please note that molting is a normal process which is very natural. There's nothing much you can do other than just making the birds comfortable and providing for them their daily quality ration for them to be able to get through this process. I have sourced my chicks from a reputable hatchery, provided a good diet. They are now of age to lay. My structure is east to west orientation and the lighting is proper. But I'm having a challenge. I'm not collecting eggs. What could be the other problem that I'm not taking care of? Pest, diseases, and parasite infestation. These three can cause significant losses if not kept under control. As a farmer, these three are things you need to look into if you want to be able to succeed. Adhering to vaccination schedules goes without saying because this helps us to be able to prevent and control diseases in the farm. Parasite control is an important aspect. And in this one, preferably we are talking about lice and mites. And this could be a big problem if not kept under manageable conditions or if not eliminated. It is important to have a routine for cleaning up the chicken house and even applying poultry dust to keep such parasites like lice and mites under control. In addition, regular deworming is recommended to control worm infestation, which could also cause a decline in your egg production. You should also note that the minute you deworm your birds, this also causes stress to the animal. So incorporate a vitamin as well. And you'll also notice a slight decrease in your egg production the week where you deworm your birds. Important to know that as well. What other stressing factors will cause your birds to stop laying or cause a decline in egg production? Changes in weather are bound to cause a decline or a stop in egg production. Changes in feed, especially when it is done abruptly, like we have previously mentioned in the course. Debeaking your birds. This is a stressing factor that will definitely cause your birds to stop laying for a while. Have you recently vaccinated your birds? This will also cause a decline or a stop in egg production. Why? Because it's a stressing factor for birds. And we have discussed this before, that when you're vaccinating, remember to give a vitamin to aid in the stress relief factor. Are your birds overstocked, overcrowded? This is a stressing factor as well, especially if you're not looking at the stocking density. If you overstock, then that means your birds have no space. They have no space to be themselves. That means, again, egg production will either decline or you will not be collecting any eggs from your flock. The other and final aspect you're going to look at is the breed. Breed selection is very vital to being able to make an informed decision from the word go. The kind of chicken you select or the kind of bird you select to keep depends on the end product you're interested in. It is always essential or important to understand these aspects as a farmer, so you start on the right footing. Do your research well and get the best or probable breed for what you're interested in when it comes to production.